Mademoiselle and ça c'est deuxième channel and jeudi we are going to be talking about black magic. Now this is this channel's most highly requested video, mainly because on this channel I talk about Haitian voodoo, politics, spirituality, and all things about other types of religions and crazy spooky things that a lot of people wonder about, and for the most part a lot of misconceptions that people have about spiritual things. Now one thing that a lot of people love to comment on this channel, especially those who are not really well versed in other people's beliefs, is that Haitian voodoo is evil inherently, and that is because they dibble and dabble in black magic. Or, you know, people also comment about other primitive type of religions or traditional religions, and they're always like, oh, it's evil, it's bad, they are always doing these bad things to people, and these bad things always happen when people dibble and dabble things that are not of God. But people need to understand that the reason that they believe these things is mainly because they are being told these things their whole lives, right? And they never explore other options, other alternatives to what they believe is the truth. And then on top of that, they do not understand that sadly over time everything has just been lumped together. Black magic, white magic, two completely different things. Voodoo, Santeria, bruja, all of those other things, completely different principles, crafts, practices. They're not all the same, but some way, somehow, everyone's lumped them all together. So I really like making these videos so people can separate all of them and understand not only are they not the same, but they are not evil. And just because you do not understand something, it should basically make you want to seek to understand, seek to know the difference, and not be ignorant and just condemn people just because it's not something that you would practice yourself, and just because you have not been well versed on what it is. Of course, before we get started, make sure you guys smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, smash everybody, you know, that can help a sister out. This is part of my new merchandise out on Twitter at Gouye from my Haitians. We get on Conan. Make sure you guys go subscribe to my main channel where I do social issues, motivation, and advice videos, and follow me on Instagram. I'll be dancing, I'll be posting a little motivational shit, I'll be doing little rants or whatever. So let's get straight into it. Other names for black magic can also include dark magic, counter magic, sorcery, or ritualistic magic. Now sorcery is actually kind of falls under witchcraft as well. It shouldn't necessarily be dark sorcery or black sorcery, but for the most part, a lot of times when people are saying sorcery, they're mainly talking about witchcraft, but it really depends on the context and in the sentence. And a lot of these terms, it really does depend on the context and on the sentence. And for the most part, we are talking about people and practices of people using energy and magic for bad, and that is what black magic is. Over time, for whatever reason, everything has just been lumped together. If it was pagan, if it was something people did not believe in, if it was not Christ-based, it was evil, it was bad, you were doing the work of the devil. It's just not fair for people to do and say these things. And in 2022, I'm happy that people are finally looking into alternative thought instead of just regurgitating things that they've been, you know, fed to believe. But sadly, there's still a lot of people that need to be well versed in this. So black magic is referred to the usage of supernatural powers for evil purposes. There were many myths and beliefs related to black magic all over the world, and there are different ways to go about this. You can either use deities, you can do different practices, there's different spells, there's so many ways to go about that. That's a whole nother video. I'm not about to teach you how to do that. Not only am I not well versed in it, but no bad energy, okay? The origin of black magic can actually be traced back to medieval times, back to primitive religions. This is around the time where a lot of people really started seeing people do a lot of things that they considered unnatural. This is where we start hearing, oh, pagan this, pagan that, you know, the witch stuff, and do we even have to go down that? White magic kind of brings us a closeness to white beings, brings us closer to light, right? It brings us closer to things that we kind of want to be close to, if that makes sense. Black magic, on the other hand, does not. Angels, spirits, things that we only hear about and read about in movies and classic poetry. You know, things that we're like, oh my God, I would love to see that, I would love to experience that. Things that make us feel good, right? Black magic, it doesn't really bring you close to anything unless something goes wrong. That's a whole nother story, right? But black magic basically brings you to something that is not really a good thing. This is why most people who practice black magic don't practice black magic on a consistent basis. Black magic is not a practice that is done like white magic or a practice like, you know, a spiritual practice, if that makes sense. It's not something where like every day you're doing something. It's not something where like you wake up, black magic, go to sleep, black magic, eat black magic. It's not one of those things. It's one of those things where when you need it, you do it and you put it away. You need something done, you call on the spirit, you call on a deity, you call on a spell, you do whatever it is that you need to do, and you end it properly. Whatever it is carried out, and then you're done. I know atheists that actually believe in black and white magic. I don't know any atheist that doesn't, okay? But for those of you naysayers that may not believe in this or may not believe in God or the devil or whatever, you can't believe in one and not believe in the other. At the end of the day, if you believe in good, you have to believe in bad. If you believe in bad, you have to believe in good, because there's no good without bad and there's no bad without good. Because at the end of the day, like, it'd be boring without the other. That's why they have each other. Each has its necessary calling, and I'm going to get into that. Understand, for the most part, a lot of reasons why a lot of people always think that people are always doing bad things when they're doing alternative practices that aren't Christian or are not like other mainstream religions is because there are a lot of bad people out there that do these religions and then they use black magic in conjunction with these religions, okay? Understand, yes, voodoo, Santa Maria, bruja, all of those things are all religions, point blank period. They're practices, they're lifestyle, whether you want to believe it or not. Most of those people that practice those religions do believe in God. You guys just don't know it because you guys refuse to look into it. And sadly, a lot of these people are forced to practice their religions in secret. And since it's so secretive, since it does not look like the normal God practices that we see, it is demonized. So for the normal average person that practices, either you don't see it, or if you do see it, it looks a little weird. And then for the people that we do know that kind of practice a little bit more loud, or for the people that we do know who practice, a lot of them do practice the evil kind of voodoo, right? Does that necessarily mean that that person that practices a certain type of religion or practice, that practice is evil? Absolutely not. That means that that person has taken on the deed of being an evil person and taken on the practice of black magic in conjunction with whatever it is that they believe to do bad things onto other people. Let's take Christianity, for instance. Christianity has been used as a tool to control people for centuries, but for whatever reason, no one ever talks about how bad that is. Has technically been used to enslave black people forever, but for whatever reason, many of us still believe in Christianity as a whole. Some people kind of separate it and they believe of a more African version of Christ. They believe in a more black version of Christ, mainly because one of the first Catholic churches, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember if it was Catholic or Christian-based churches, was actually in Ethiopia. So a lot of people kind of like to follow that version. You know, a lot of people like to say Jesus wasn't white, he was black. So they try to justify it with that. But we can never negate that the Bible was thrown at us and whipped into us. Anything that has to be beat into me must not be real. And that's why when people say they're atheists, I can't blame them. My father's atheist. My mom is a devout Catholic. So I've always been in the middle, like, I know God exists. The Christianity thing, I don't know. I was raised Catholic, I still remain Catholic, and I don't have a problem with it. I believe a little bit of everything, and I don't believe anyone is 100% correct. However, at the end of the day, I do believe that there are bad people out there that do bad things. I do not think people should just be condemning people just because they do not understand why they choose to do what they do. And I believe white magic and black magic has its place in the world. Now, just listen to me, right? God forbid someone does something to your child. The unthinkable. SA, right? Say someone SA's your child. I think all of us can agree that is an unforgivable thing. Now, say the person actually gets caught. They go on trial and the court system does absolutely nothing. There's not enough proof, whatever. The trial gets, I don't know, thrown away. It's garbage. The person doesn't go to jail. You guys know how the shit goes. Especially when it comes to SA, it's pretty hard to actually convict someone for it. So a lot of times there are some people that are SA people, you know, abusers, and they actually walk free. Now, if you are a practicer of, let's say, bruja, right? And you have the power to make that person suffer for what they did to your child. You're not about to do it. When it comes to anything in this life, there's consequences. When you do bad things to people, whether it comes to voodoo, shit, even Christianity, even if you're atheist, the world in general, karma is always gonna come back for you. Whatever you do in this world is gonna come back tenfold. So if you're going to do something onto someone, regardless of what the reason is, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see what it is that you sowed. Do you feel like it is justified to do something in that type of situation? I say yes. I do not give a shit because you hurt my child in the most unthinkable way. If I had the power and if I was a practitioner of something like that and I knew someone that can do black magic on someone that literally abused my child in the worst way possible and I know the law did not do its job, you got me fucked up. That's just the way I see it. I believe there is a reason for black magic in this world. And it's crazy because a lot of people be like, oh no, love and light, all love and light. It's like, no, there are evil people out here and evil people need to be dealt with just in case there is not an afterlife. Just in case the Jehovah's Witnesses are right. Maybe when we die, we just turn to dirt. Maybe there ain't shit after this. We don't know. We may be wrong, bro. Maybe there is no heaven, there's no hell. Maybe there's absolutely no punishment after all of this. We may be doing all of this shit, eating right, exercise, all of this, keeping our bodies as temples and all of that, and then when we die, we just go back to the earth. Can you imagine? There's nothing after this? If there's nothing after this, no, you can get your punishment today. Like, skirt. Okay, and many people may just be like, oh no, I'm gonna let God handle them. That's fine. Some people may say, I'm gonna let karma handle them. That's fine, but that's you. And what the next person chooses to do is what the next person chooses to do. That is not your call to make. And I believe at the end of the day, whatever that person chooses to do, they should not be judged for that. Because when it comes to unthinkable things like that, that's that person's call to make. And that's just a very extreme example. The reason people are so afraid of black magic is because practitioners of black magic are very, very powerful. Just like the practitioners of white magic. They are able to bend energies to the extreme. Whether we're talking about love spells, health spells, shit, nature spells, like they can do so much. And that's why it scares people. And to be honest, you should be scared. Most people will only use black magic when absolutely necessary. They're not gonna use it for little bullshit like, oh, well, okay, you cut me off on the road, let me all side. Like, that's not how that works, okay? They're only gonna use it for very necessary things when, you know, they know that that person really deserves it. Am I saying that we are God and we have the power of God to sit here and dictate what happens to people? No. But at the end of the day, there are people out there that have the power to do a lot of things to people, and if they choose to do it, that's their business, and they deal with a higher power or the higher power when they get there. Sadly, the influence of pop culture has like fucked everything up and kind of lumped everything together. Now we have people talking about occultism, Satanism, and all these other things, saying they're all the same. Honestly, that would be an interesting video. Do you guys want a video on Satanism? That would be an those are gonna be interesting videos. I cannot wait to do those. That's gonna be entertaining. Cause that's the thing, when it comes to like the occult, Satanism, or even what's that thing called? The Masons, the Freemasons and stuff like that. Like a lot of people think that those things are like necessarily like evil since they're so mysterious, but it's not what people think it is. It's all mainstream people kind of making shit up. Oh God, the media, social media just messes things up. And that's where lines get blurred. And it's sad because we live in a time where you can literally look anything up, but people refuse. Like people just don't want to look anything up. And it's not that difficult. It's not that hard. Just Google what is this and just find a documentary and watch it for like 30 minutes and you'll be a little bit more well-versed than you were before. Now, of course, over time, white people began to accuse black people of black magic, especially with their practices that they already found them doing. This is where we always hear them shoving the Bible in their faces, basically taking their practices away, and this is where the introduction of Haitian voodoo and other voodoo practices, and especially the Caribbean islands and America, where you have hoodoo, took place, because a lot of people were still trying to practice their primitive traditions and religions. They would sit there and be like, no, Christianity, no, Catholicism. They're like, okay, Dumbala. It was weird. As a way to still worship their loi, their deities, bon Dieu, and God that they still knew back home, they used the saints as a cover for their loi. This is why every single time you see me do a Haitian voodoo loi video, you see that there is a Catholic veneration. So for example, Erzuli is usually represented by Mother Mary, but you guys understand where I'm coming from. And it's really sad because this traveled up to now, like to this day. And you know, of course, then we had the time where the Haitian Revolution happened, where they're like, oh, well, you see, all of these niggers, they done cut all the heads off all the white people. They must have did it with voodoo. How's that possible? We have guns and they have knives. When in actuality, no, not only were y'all motherfuckers getting sick, but y'all didn't plan properly. The Haitians were very strategic in getting you guys in the worst part of Haiti and getting you guys like all types of fucked up. They were smart. And then on top of that, guys did not get y'all heads cut off and bloodshed or whatever. How many heads did y'all cut off? Okay, nigga, it's war. They literally sat there like it must have been black magic. Back in those days, especially when it came to anything black people did that was wrong, it was as if they're possessed, it's black magic. So that's mainly how voodoo and black magic became synonymous. And then of course, we had the witchcraft thing with the witch trials and things like that, hanging them and all of that. Of course, they did the same thing to slaves. And it's just sad because a lot of times these people weren't doing anything but practicing their regular religions, and they were being told that they were doing evil things. And back in the day, considering the way these people were treated for just being human and just having differences of opinions and differences of religions and spirituality, it just doesn't make any logical sense. Just because you don't like the way they're worshiping, you're gonna fucking hang them, you're gonna burn them at the stake. This shit don't make no sense. Like, to kill people so violently just based off of the difference of opinion is a little bit absurd. People were very barbaric. By the Renaissance, it was still kind of one of those situations where people were looking at you like, you practice black magic? Oh no, baby. But it wasn't one of those things where you're gonna be persecuted. It was more like a social persecution. But people would still kind of dibble and dabble in it, just not publicly, just like now, pretty much. So still prohibited, just not, you know, burned at the stake prohibited. So now you have natural magic by 16th and 17th century that became a little bit more popularized. But at the same time, ritual and folk magic was still prohibited, and people were still gonna look at you side-eyed if you tried to do it. It's very interesting. Any type of magic in general, a lot of people throughout history were just not about to have it. I think it's just the word magic that turns people off. Maybe if people would have tried to find a different word, maybe they should have just called it spiritualism, spirituality. I don't know, nature prayer. I kid you not, they probably would have been fine. But since you're calling it magic, people are kind of afraid. I think they really should have probably thought of something else to call it, and they probably would have been just fine. So there are many countries and cultures that really have like serious black magic issues. In Saudi Arabia, they even have a police force that is dedicated to fighting black magic. They have prosecuted over 600 cases of black magic crime. First of all, the fact that there's even a police force for that is wicked. Yo, it's crazy because there's so many cases that I've seen online and news articles about like voodoo that I've read. I actually started a series on here, but I completely forgot about it. I probably might start it up again where I'll like read cases and analyze them on this channel about like voodoo. I'm like, is this voodoo or is it, you know, fake? And it's crazy because I'm like, now that I think about it, there's probably so many things that have happened that are voodoo related and like nobody's ever looked into it because yeah. But to have a task force, 600 cases, that's a lot of cases. 600 cases. That's in Saudi Arabia. And then you have other places. Romania has a witch law where they tax witches. This is actually kind of crazy. I don't know if I agree with that or not. I mean, if you're doing bad things to people, especially on a consistent basis, that's not okay. But let me read this from my iPad. So much like Salem in 1692, some countries are still identifying witches with or without evidence and persecuting them for their perceived crimes. In Romania, the government introduced a new law taxing witches, fortune tellers, and astrologers in 2011. That is fucking wild. But Romania, that actually kind of makes sense because Romania got a whole lot of spirituality type of interesting, crazy things going on there. But to tax them, that's a little much. I mean, at least they're not throwing them in jail. Now we have Central African Republic, much like Haiti. They have something similar to the Lugau where they turn people into animals as, you know, a black magic type of punishment. This is in the town of Mumbaki. I hope I said that right. Mexico's version of witchcraft is Santa Muruate. I've heard of this one, which is also called the Saint of Death. In Chile, they have Calcu, which perform evil witchcraft. So many different cultures actually do believe in black magic or evil types of witchcraft. I am so sorry if I say anything wrong because I can't say anything right. Shit. In Creole. What am I talking about? In English, I can't say anything right, nigga. Some disrespect. Black magic is a very, very serious thing. What's even crazier is there's a lot of people that think they may be practicing white magic or they may be practicing good things or saying, you know, positive manifestations, but in actuality, they may may be calling on to dark things. This is why I tell people, if you guys are going to be doing this whole tapping into your full potential and manifestation and meditation and all of that, please understand you may be doing some shit that you don't even know what the fuck you're doing. You may be out here like thinking you're doing something good, but you're not doing anything good at all. And you may be getting yourself in a very, very dangerous situation. So honestly, whatever you do, just make sure you have some sort of light. Make sure you're doing it under God. If not God, some sort of, you know, light that you follow, Buddha, whatever. Find some sort of light, I don't know, to surround you with, crystals. I guarantee you there's going to be some type of evilness that tries to get you at your most vulnerable. At the end of the day, if your body doesn't belong to something, it belongs to something. So with that being said, comment down below what you guys think about this video. What did I miss? I feel like there's a lot of different directions that I could go with this type of video. I probably might do a segue to this. I don't know, because I don't want too many people to be interested in this and then try to do something stupid or crazy or getting these stupid ass ideas. I feel like almost every time I try to make one of these types of videos, people are like, oh, how do I do this? How do I call this demon? How do I, like, are you guys fucking dumb? What part of don't do it don't you guys understand? So with that being said, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, do all that, and I'm gonna see y'all next time. Bye.